the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine on this Tuesday. Nick Barris here. A good show on tap. We're going to open up the phone lines in kind of a part two, if you will. As you know, yesterday we had the president of the Fraternal Order of Police here in Nashville on to talk about the continuing conversation over a committee, an oversight committee that would be placed in the city to oversee some of the issues we see happening with our law enforcement community. Now, as you know, there was a challenge to that, whether or not it will go to the referendum, a vote in November or not. There was a development last night as they continued to try to block it happening, and I think the appeals court last night ruled against fast-tracking an appeal from the Fraternal Order of Police to stop the vote on the Oversight Committee. So it still is full speed ahead, at least as far as we know right now, for it to be on the November 6th ballot, though the Supreme Court still could step in. The details over why it's being challenged, whether it goes on the ballot or not, it's just kind of another element of all this, but doesn't go into the debate of whether or not an oversight committee is needed. And that's kind of at the heart of what we'll talk about today, with a different point of view from the FOP, which does not like the idea. This morning we have two representatives on with us from Community Oversight Now. And of course, just based on the name of that, you know that they are in support of this idea. With us this morning is Gicola Lane. Good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again. And Dr. Sekou Franklin, nice to have you on, sir. Pleasure. So I imagine you both pleased with last night's decision, correct?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So in your mind, at least your expectation is it will be on the ballot. There's still a chance, the Supreme Court, but you would like to think it probably will be on the ballot come November?
Yes, we believe it will be on the ballot November 6th, and that's our hope.
Yeah, and at this stage, when it goes to referendum, do you believe it'll pass?
We think so.
I mean, do you think it'll be close, or what is your sense of that? How have you, by going to a referendum, you let the people speak on whether or not they want this oversight committee. What makes you think that your just sense of polling, talking to folks, the support is there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Our social media following has increased drastically. You know, we got over 8,200 signatures initially when we turned in the petition, and I think people are really starting to understand the need for community oversight, and that we are starting to control the narrative, and people are definitely in support of an independent body to look into any type of complaints and just, basic kind of information that nobody should, police themselves, or, there's professional boards for all these other type of professions. So
why not something like this? All right, and that kind of leads to the next question. I want you guys to put out why you think this is an important thing. Yesterday when we had the president of the FOP on, he acknowledged, I understand the people talking about, folks policing themselves, but he says there are other organizations, groups out there that supervise or can play a role in what police do. I mean, there's the DA, there's the Post Commission at the state level. I mean, there are different organizations separate from that. And so his argument in part was, don't really need an oversight committee, in the sense it's just another layer of something we don't really need, because there are groups out there outside the police department that can monitor us. Your take on that?
Well, if you think about Nashville, there were 7,000 civilian complaints, civil rights related, between 2005 and 2015.
Wow. Based
upon open records requests.
Okay.
98% of those complaints were decided against those people bringing complaints. If you think about Nashville, from the Metro Human Relations Commission to the District Attorney's report after the non-indictment of Mr. Clemens, to the U.S. Department of Justice's Community Relations Service Division, even the grand jury in an end-of-term report in 2017, all those reports collectively said there's an institutional problem in Metro Nashville Police Department, and there needs to be robust civilian oversight that has independent and investigative power. So what the Oversight Now coalition has done, and what the referendum attempts to do, is to essentially complement what many of the mainstream nonpartisan agencies have already affirmed, that you need robust, strong civilian oversight to bring some level of accountability in Metro. In the same way that a restaurant that wants to serve food, it doesn't necessarily serve as its own health inspector. There's a health department official or a food inspector who comes in and gives it a rating, and anyone who wants to go to that restaurant can see that rating when they walk in. So what we're asking for in terms of oversight is an issue that is frankly what most of the mainline institutions in Nashville want. which is some level of accountability in MMPD at a time in which if you are a civilian in Nashville and you bring a complaint to Metro, you have a 98% chance, a 99% chance of having that complaint decided against you, regardless of the origins of that complaint. And that's based upon empirical data by some pretty serious analysis.
And your take would be that that is an awful high number to have nothing come back on the side of the person filing the complaint. I mean, you could imagine that some of the complaints probably are unjustified, but you would say 98%. There's just no way.
It's an awful high number, but it's a number that has longevity. So we're talking about in 2005 to 2015 across police chiefs, across OPA directors. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It's a fact that this is a significant problem in MAPD, and you're talking about in several of the police killings or police shootings or murders that have taken place in the last couple of decades, the officers who have been involved in those shootings have been placed on a promotion list, and in some cases have been promoted. So there's an institutional problem that relates to accountability, that relates to community safety. And we think that the Community Oversight Board does that.
Gotcha. Listen, we're going to take a quick break because we've got calls coming in, and when we do come back, I want you to lay out, kind of for our viewers too, just how it's going to work. Just again, to revisit that, what the costs will be involved, you know how that is, and how the members will be chosen. And then a lot of people have opinions on this as well. So if you want to join, 737-7587. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll take a quick break, be back with our fine guests right after this to continue our conversation. Stay with us.